It's 2 in the morning when I hear my wife giggling upstairs like a schoolgirl. I'm under the kitchen sink, wrench in hand, trying to fix a leak that's been dripping for 3 weeks. The pipe wrench slips, and I bang my knuckles against the cabinet. Above me, Julia's voice carries through the floorboards. "No, you're the only man I ever wanted in this bed." For once, I wish she meant me. I'm Frank Mallory, 44 years old, and I run an architectural salvage business in this forgotten corner of New England called Ashford. Used to be a mill town. Now it's the kind of place where the American dream comes to retire and complain about property taxes. I salvage pieces from old buildings, carved mantels, stained glass windows, wrought iron gates, and sell them to people who want character in their McMansions. Julia sells those McMansions. Top broker at Pinnacle Real Estate, drives a white BMW, wears suits that cost more than most people make in a week. We've been married 18 years, and somewhere along the way, I became the guy who fixes the pipes while she talks to other men at 2 a.m. I crawl out from under the sink and listen. Her voice drifts down the stairs, honey-sweet and conspiratorial. "He's probably downstairs playing with his tools again. He never comes up before 3. That stings, not because it's cruel, but because it's accurate. I wipe my hands on an old rag and climb the stairs, each step creaking like a warning. Our bedroom door is cracked open, and I can see Julia pacing by the window, phone pressed to her ear. She's wearing the red silk nightgown I bought her for Christmas 2 years ago. First time I've seen it on her since. "Tomorrow night, same place," she whispers. "I'll tell him I'm showing the Peterson house again." The Peterson house sold 3 months ago. I back down the stairs, my mind racing. In 18 years of marriage, I've suspected plenty but never had proof. Julia's always been ambitious, always networking, always working late. I told myself that's what successful people do. They sacrifice family time for career advancement. They take calls at midnight because clients have emergencies. But clients don't usually make you giggle like a teenager. I grab a beer from the refrigerator and sit at our kitchen table, the same one we bought when we were young and stupid and thought love conquered everything. The wood is scarred from years of homework sessions with our boys, Sid and Jimmy. Both in college now, both expensive, both blissfully unaware that their parents' marriage is held together by habit and a shared mortgage. Julia's footsteps creak overhead. The shower starts running. At 2:30 a.m., I finish my beer and head to my workshop in the basement. It's my sanctuary, filled with rescued pieces from Ashford's better days. A marble fireplace surround from the old Hartwell mansion. Stained glass panels from the Methodist church they tore down last spring. Beautiful things that outlasted the buildings that housed them. Unlike marriages, apparently. Before we deeper into this story, I have one small request. Please subscribe, drop a like, comment, and hit that hype button to boost this channel so more people can discover these incredible Reddit stories. The next morning, Julie is already gone when I wake up. Her coffee cup sits in the sink, lipstick stain on the rim like evidence. There's a note on the counter. "Showing houses all day. Don't wait up." I call Bob Torino, my best friend since high school and owner of Torino's boxing gym. Bob's an ex-cop who retired early after taking a bullet in the shoulder during a domestic disturbance call. He's got the kind of street smarts you can't learn from books. "Frank, you sound like hell," Bob says when I walk into his gym. The place smells like old sweat and determination. It's honest work, honest smells, nothing fake about a boxing gym. I think Julia's cheating. Bob stops wrapping his hands and looks at me. Think or no? Heard her on the phone last night. Sounded pretty cozy with whoever was on the other end. Could be anything. Could be her sister. Could be work stuff. At 2 a.m., talking about beds. Bob finishes wrapping his hands and walks over to the heavy bag. "You want advice, or you want me to tell you what you want to hear?" "Advice. Get proof. Real proof. Not just late-night phone calls and suspicious behavior. Because once you accuse someone of cheating, there's no taking it back. Marriage is over either way. He starts hitting the bag, each punch punctuating his words. But if you're going to go down that road, don't go soft, make 'em sweat, and whatever you do, don't get caught. That afternoon, I decide to do some detective work. Julia's purse sits on the kitchen counter, and I know she keeps everything in there. I feel like a criminal going through my own wife's belongings, but desperate times call for desperate measures. Her main phone is password protected, but there's something else in the side pocket. A second phone. Cheap, basic, the kind you buy with cash at a convenience store. It's not password protected. The text messages make my stomach turn. Can't wait to feel you inside me again. Frank's so pathetic. Still thinks I'm working late. You make me feel like a real woman, not like my sad little man at home. The contact name is Pumper. Real classy. I scroll through weeks of messages, each one a small knife twist. Photos I don't want to see. Hotel receipts, plans for weekend getaways while I thought she was at real estate conferences. But the worst part isn't the explicit content. It's the casual cruelty. The way she talks about me like I'm some kind of house pet she's outgrown. 18 years of marriage, 2 kids, building a life together, and I'm just her sad little man. I take pictures of everything with my own phone, then put hers back exactly where I found it. Evidence collected. Now I need to figure out who Pumper is and what I'm going to do about it. The answer comes that evening when Julia gets home, all smiles and fake energy. "How was your day, honey?" she asks, kissing my cheek like she's been doing for 18 years. Like she didn't spend her lunch hour texting another man about my inadequacies. "Fine. How were the showings?" "Great. I think the Miller family is ready to make an offer on the Colonial." The Miller family bought a house 6 months ago. I know because I sold them a refurbished chandelier for their dining room. "That's wonderful," I say. "By the way, who's Pumper?" Julia freezes, her fake smile faltering for just a second. "What?" "Someone named Pumper keeps calling the house. Hangs up when I answer." It's a lie, but it gets the reaction I want. Julia's face goes pale, then red. "I have no idea. Probably a wrong number." Probably. That night, I use the GPS history on Julia's secret phone to track her movements. She's been going to the Riverside Inn, a sleazy motel on the outskirts of town, the kind of place that rents rooms by the hour and doesn't ask questions. I drive over there around noon the next day and park across the street. Sure enough, there's Julia's BMW in the lot, right next to a silver Mercedes with vanity plates that read, "Cell 1." I know that car. It belongs to Brett Garris, Julia's boss at Pinnacle Real Estate. 48 years old, divorced twice, the kind of guy who wears gold chains and calls everyone Sport. His nickname around town is Pumper because he's always pumping up his sales numbers and bragging about his conquests. Now I know exactly who's been conquering my wife. I sit in my truck for an hour, watching their cars, imagining what's happening in room 237. My hands shake with rage, but I force myself to think clearly. Bob's words echo in my head. Don't go soft, make 'em sweat, don't get caught. I get out of my truck and walk over to Brett's Mercedes. I pull out my keys and carve "Home Wrecker" into the driver's side door. Then I go back to my truck, grab a bag of shrimp I bought for dinner, and stuff them into the Mercedes air vents. The smell should be interesting in a few days. Finally, I write a note on a piece of paper and stick it under the windshield wiper. You park in my spot, you get my leftovers. I'm back in my truck when I notice Mrs. Henderson from down the street walking her dog. She's got her phone out, taking pictures of me vandalizing the Mercedes. Great. But you know what? I don't care anymore. Let her take pictures. Let the whole town know that Frank Mallory finally grew a backbone. I drive home and wait. Julia storms through the front door at 6 o'clock, her face twisted with rage. She throws a printed photo at me, Mrs. Henderson's handiwork, showing me keying Brett's car. "What the hell is wrong with you?" she screams. "Do you have any idea what you've done?" I've marked my territory, I say calmly, like any animal would. Brett's threatening to press charges, to sue you for vandalism. Do you want to lose everything we've worked for? Everything we've worked for? Or everything you've worked for while screwing your boss? The words hang in the air between us like a challenge. Julia's mouth opens and closes, but no sound comes out. I know about the phone, Julia. I know about the motel. I know about Pumper. She sinks into a chair, her anger replaced by something that might be fear. Frank, I can explain. Don't. Just don't. 18 years of marriage and you throw it away for Brett Garris? Brett Pumper Garris, who's been divorced twice and hits on every woman under 30? You don't understand. You've never understood me. My needs, my ambitions. Your needs? Your ambition to humiliate your husband by calling him pathetic in text messages? Now she knows I've read everything. The fear in her eyes turns to calculation. If you embarrass me again, if you do anything to jeopardize my career, I'll take you for everything you're worth. The house, the business, the kids' college funds, everything. She stands up and smooths her skirt, trying to regain her composure. I'm going to stay at my sister's tonight. When I come back tomorrow, we're going to discuss this like adults. And Frank, if you ever touch Brett's property again, you'll be hearing from his lawyer. She grabs her purse and walks out, leaving me alone in our kitchen with the ruins of our marriage scattered around me like debris from a demolished building. But you know what? I'm in the salvage business. I know how to take something broken and make it beautiful again, and if she wants war, she'll get it. The next morning, I wake up alone in a house that suddenly feels too big and too quiet. Julia's side of the bed is still made, her pillow cold and untouched. I make coffee for one and sit at the kitchen table, staring at the empty chair across from me. My phone buzzes. A text from my son Sid at Boston University. Mom says you're having problems. You okay, Dad? So she's already spinning the story, making me the villain. I text back, everything's fine, focus on your studies. But everything's not fine. I can feel the whole town watching me, waiting to see how Frank Mallory handles being cuckolded by his wife's boss. In a place like Ashford, gossip spreads faster than a house fire, and twice as destructive. I decide to open my shop early, lose myself in work. The architectural salvage business is solitary by nature. I spend most of my time alone with beautiful old things that other people threw away. Today, that sounds perfect. But when I get to the warehouse, Bob's truck is already in the parking lot. He's sitting on my loading dock drinking coffee from a thermos. Heard you had some excitement yesterday, he says. News travels fast. Henderson's got a big mouth and a Facebook account. Half the town's seen the picture of you keying Brett's car. I unlock the warehouse door and flip on the lights. Rows of salvaged architectural elements stretch back into the shadows, mantels, doors, windows, columns. All of them outlasted the buildings they came from. All of them survived demolition. You get proof? Bob asks, following me inside. I show him the photos I took of Julia's secret phone. He whistles low. This is good stuff, Frank. Real good. But you need more. More what? More dirt. On both of them. You think Julia's the only woman Brett's messing around with? Guy like that, there's always more. And Julia? I bet she's got secrets you haven't even thought of yet. Bob's right. I've been thinking small, focusing on just the affair. But if I'm going to war, I need to know everything about my enemies. How do I find out more? You start digging. Financial records, social media, mutual friends. People always leave trails, Frank. You just gotta know where to look. That afternoon, I start my investigation in earnest. Julia's laptop is password protected, but she's not very creative. Her password is Pinnacle 2019, the year she made top salesperson. I'm in her email within 5 minutes. What I find makes my stomach turn. Julia hasn't just been having an affair with Brett. She's been cooking the books at Pinnacle, inflating her sales numbers, taking credit for other agents' work. And Brett's been helping her, manipulating the system to make Julia look like a superstar while other agents struggle. But that's not the worst part. The worst part is the email chain between Julia and her sister Becky, discussing me like I'm some kind of charity case. "Frank's so naive," Julia wrote. "He actually believes I work late every night. Sometimes I think it would be kinder to just leave him, but I need his income to maintain my lifestyle until I can establish myself independently." "You're so bad," Becky replied. "But Brett sounds amazing. When do I get to meet him?" "Soon. We're thinking about going public after the Founders Festival. Let Frank have his moment in the spotlight, then drop the bomb." The Founders Festival, Ashford's biggest social event of the year, where they give out awards for community service and business achievement. Julia's up for Businesswoman of the Year. She wants to humiliate me in front of the entire town. I print out everything and put it in a folder. Evidence, ammunition, insurance. My phone rings. It's Jimmy, my younger son. "Dad, what's going on?" "Mom called crying, said you're having some kind of breakdown." "I'm not having a breakdown, son. I'm having a revelation. She says you vandalized her boss's car. That's not like you." "Maybe the old me, but the old me was a fool." There's a long pause. "Dad, are you okay? You sound different." "I'm fine. Better than fine. How's school?" "Good, but I'm worried about you and Mom. Are you guys getting divorced?" The question hits me like a punch to the gut. Divorced. After 18 years, it might come to that, but not on Julia's terms, not with me as the pathetic husband who couldn't keep his wife satisfied. "I don't know, Jimmy, but whatever happens, you and Sid are the most important things in my life. Remember that." After I hang up, I sit in my warehouse surrounded by pieces of other people's demolished dreams. A carved angel from a church that couldn't pay its mortgage. Stained glass windows from a mansion that got torn down for a strip mall. Beautiful things that survived because someone thought they were worth saving. Maybe I'm worth saving too. That evening, I drive to Murphy's Tavern, Ashford's premier dive bar. It's the kind of place where the floors are sticky, the beer is cheap, and everyone knows everyone else's business. Perfect for gathering intelligence. I'm 3 stools down from Tommy Martinez, who works construction and has done jobs for Pinnacle Real Estate. After a couple of beers, Tommy's tongue gets loose. "That Brett guy's a real piece of work," he says. "Had me do some work on his house last year. Kept bragging about all the women he's nailing. Said he had a system for seducing married women." "What kind of system?" "Targets the ambitious ones. Tells them their husbands are holding them back. Makes them feel special, like they deserve better. Classic manipulation stuff." My hands tighten around my beer bottle. "Anyone specific?" "Well, I probably shouldn't say, but your wife's name came up a lot. Sorry, Frank. Thought you knew. Everyone knows. I'm the last to find out about my own wife's affair, and now I'm the town's official laughingstock." "It's okay, Tommy. I know. What are you going to do about it?" "I'm still figuring that out. But I'm starting to get some ideas." The next day, I decide to visit Pinnacle Real Estate. Know your enemy's territory, Bob always says. I walk into their glass and chrome office like I belong there, carrying a folder and wearing my best poker face. The receptionist, a young woman named Ashley, recognizes me. "Mr. Mallory, how nice to see you. Are you here for Julia?" "Actually, I'm here to see Brett. I have some information about a property he might be interested in." It's not entirely a lie. I do have information, just not the kind he's expecting. Ashley buzzes Brett's office. "Mr. Garris, Julia's husband is here to see you about a property." I can hear Brett's voice through the intercom, surprised and wary. "Send him back." Brett's office is everything I expected. Expensive furniture, awards on the walls, photos of himself with local politicians and celebrities. He's sitting behind a massive desk, trying to look intimidating. "Frank? What a surprise. Ashley said something about a property?" That's right. The property of marriage. Specifically, mine. Brett's face goes pale, then red. "I think you should leave." I think you should stop screwing my wife. I don't know what you're talking about. I pull out my phone and show him one of the photos from Julia's secret device. His face crumbles. Look, Frank, it's not what you think. It's exactly what I think. The question is, what are we going to do about it? Brett stands up, trying to regain his composure. If you're here to threaten me, I'm here to give you a choice. End it now, transfer Julia to another office, and we can all pretend this never happened. Or keep it up, and I'll make sure everyone in town knows what kind of man you really are. You can't prove anything. I show him another photo. This one of hotel receipts and explicit text messages. I can prove everything. Brett sits back down, deflated. What do you want? I want my wife back, and I want you to stay away from her. It's not that simple, Frank. Julia's a grown woman. She makes her own choices. Then help her make better ones. I turn to leave, then pause at the door. Oh, and Brett? Nice car. Sorry about the scratches. As I walk through the office, I notice several agents watching me with a mixture of curiosity and respect. Word will spread quickly that Frank Mallory confronted Brett Garris in his own office. The balance of power is starting to shift. But when I get home, Julia's waiting for me, and she's furious. How dare you embarrass me at work? She screams. How dare you go to my office and threaten my boss? Your boss? Is that what we're calling him now? Brett told me what you did. You can't just walk into someone's workplace and make accusations. I can when those accusations are true. Julia's face twists with rage. You have no idea what you're dealing with, Frank. Brett has lawyers, good lawyers. He could destroy you. Let him try. This isn't a game. This is my career, my reputation. What about my reputation? What about our marriage? Our marriage has been over for years. You've just been too stupid to notice. The words hit me like a physical blow. 18 years, and she's been planning her exit strategy the whole time. Fine, I say quietly. If it's over, it's over. But it ends on my terms, not yours. Julia's anger turns to something that might be fear. What do you mean? I mean, if you want a war, Julia, you've got one. And I'm not the same man you married 18 years ago. I walk past her and head for my workshop. Behind me, I hear her yelling, but I don't listen to the words anymore. I'm done listening to Julia's words. From now on, I'm watching her actions and planning my own. The next morning brings unexpected reinforcements. Sid calls from Boston, his voice tight with anger. Dad, I need to talk to you. Can you drive up here this weekend? Everything okay? No, everything's not okay. Mom called me last night trying to get me to take her side. She told me some things about you that don't sound right. What kind of things? She said you're having a mental breakdown, that you've been stalking her and threatening her boss. She wants me to convince you to get professional help. I close my eyes. Julia's trying to turn our sons against me, painting me as the unstable one. Sid, I need you to know the truth. That's why I want you to come up here. Away from Mom, away from all the drama. Just you and me talking straight. I make the drive to Boston that Saturday. Sid meets me at a coffee shop near campus, and I can see Julia in his face. The same sharp intelligence, the same way of evaluating people. But there's something else there too, something that might be my stubborn streak. Tell me what's really going on, he says. So I do. I show him the photos from Julia's secret phone, the hotel receipts, the cruel text messages about me. I watch his face change as he processes the information. She really wrote this? About you being pathetic? She really did. Sid stares at the phone screen for a long time. When he looks up, his eyes are hard. I'm good with computers, Dad. Really good. If you want to know what else Mom's been hiding, I can help you find out. I don't want to drag you into this. She already dragged me into it when she tried to make me think you were crazy. Besides, Jimmy and I deserve to know the truth about our parents. That afternoon, Sid shows me things about technology I never knew existed. Within 2 hours, He's hacked into Julia's work laptop, her social media accounts, her email. What we find is worse than I imagined. Julia hasn't just been having an affair with Brett. She's been having affairs with multiple men over the past 3 years. A client in Springfield, a contractor from Hartford, even a married man from her yoga class. She's got a whole system, Sid says, his voice disgusted. Different phones for different guys, fake social media profiles, elaborate cover stories. Dad, she's been planning to leave you for years. But the worst discovery comes when Sid finds Julia's private email account, the one she thinks nobody knows about. In it are conversations with a lawyer about divorce strategy, discussions about hiding assets, plans to claim I'm mentally unstable to get a better settlement. Look at this, Sid says, pointing to an email dated 6 months ago. She's been transferring money to offshore accounts, small amounts, spread out over time so you wouldn't notice. My wife isn't just a cheater, she's a thief. There's more, Dad. She's been working with Brett to steal clients from other agents, manipulating the computer system to redirect leads to herself. If the State Real Estate Commission found out about this, she'd lose her license. I stare at the evidence on Sid's laptop screen. Julia isn't the woman I married. She isn't even the woman I thought she'd become. She's a stranger who's been living in my house, sleeping in my bed, plotting my destruction. What do you want to do with all this? Sid asks. I want to save it, all of it. And then I want to think. Sid copies everything to a secure drive and hands it to me. Dad, I'm sorry. I know this has to hurt. It does, but it also sets me free. On the drive back to Ashford, I call Bob and ask him to meet me at the gym. When I show him what Sid and I discovered, he whistles low. This is nuclear, Frank. You could destroy her with this stuff. That's the idea. But you gotta be smart about it. You can't just dump everything at once. You gotta be strategic, make it hurt where it counts. Bob's right. Julia's spent years planning her exit strategy. Now it's time for me to plan mine. The first step is financial protection. I visit my bank and discover that Julia's been slowly draining our joint accounts, just like Sid said. But she made one mistake. She left my business accounts alone, probably thinking they weren't worth much. She's wrong. The architectural salvage business has been quietly profitable for years. I've been reinvesting most of the profits back into inventory, but there's more money there than Julia realizes. I move everything to a new account in my name only. If Julia wants to play games with money, she's going to discover I can play too. Next, I visit a lawyer. Not the kind of white shoe attorney Julia would hire, but a scrappy guy named Mike Kowalski who handles divorces for working-class people. He's got a reputation for being ruthless when he needs to be. This is a lot of evidence, Mike says, reviewing the files. Your wife's been busy. Can we use it? We can use all of it. The affairs, the financial manipulation, the attempts to hide assets. But Frank, once we pull this trigger, there's no going back. Your marriage is over, and it's going to get ugly. It's already ugly. Now I want to make it expensive. Mike grins. I like your attitude. That evening, I'm sitting in my workshop when Julia comes home. I can hear her moving around upstairs, probably looking for signs that I've been through her things. She's gotten paranoid lately, checking her phones constantly, looking over her shoulder. She should be paranoid. Frank, she calls down the stairs. We need to talk. I climb up from the basement to find her standing in the kitchen, arms crossed, trying to look authoritative. I've been thinking about our situation, she says. Maybe we can work something out. What kind of something? A separation, temporary, just until we figure things out. I'll stay at Becky's, you stay here. We'll split expenses, keep things civil for the boys. And Brett? She hesitates. Brett and I are just friends. Julia, I've seen the photos. I've read the messages. Don't insult my intelligence. Her mask slips for a moment, and I see something cold and calculating underneath. Fine. Yes, Brett and I are involved. But Frank, We haven't been happy for years. You know that. This is just me finally being honest about it. Honest? You've been lying to me for 3 years. I've been trying to spare your feelings. I thought if I could just transition slowly, it would be easier for everyone. Transition into what? Divorce? If that's what it takes. I nod slowly. Okay. If that's what you want, that's what you'll get. Julia looks surprised. She was expecting a fight, tears, pleading. Instead, she's getting calm acceptance. Really? Really. But Julia, if we're doing this, we're doing it right. Full disclosure, fair division of assets, honest conversation with the boys. Of course. And no more lies, no more sneaking around. If you want to be with Brett, be with Brett. But don't pretend you're something you're not. Julia nods, looking relieved. She thinks she's won. She has no idea what's coming. The next day, I put the first part of my plan into action. I call the State Real Estate Commission and file a complaint against Julia and Brett, providing evidence of their scheme to steal clients and manipulate sales records. Then I call Brett's ex-wife, a woman named Linda who lives in Springfield. According to the divorce records Mike Kowalski pulled, Brett stiffed her on alimony payments and tried to hide assets during their divorce. Mrs. Garris, this is Frank Mallory. I think we have something to talk about. Linda agrees to meet me at a coffee shop halfway between Ashford and Springfield. She's a tired-looking woman in her 50s, the kind of person who's been ground down by years of fighting with lawyers and collection agencies. Brett's a charmer, she tells me over coffee, right up until he gets what he wants. Then he moves on to the next conquest. How long were you married? 12 years. He cheated on me with at least 6 women that I know of, maybe more. I show her some of the photos from Julia's phone. Linda nods grimly. That's his pattern. Makes them feel special, tells them their husbands don't appreciate them. Your wife's not the first married woman he's seduced. Any advice? Document everything. Brett's got lawyers, but he's also got secrets. He's been hiding income, manipulating his books, probably committing tax fraud. If you can prove it, you can hurt him where it counts. Linda gives me the name of a private investigator who specializes in financial crimes. By the end of the week, I've hired him to dig into Brett's business dealings. Meanwhile, Julia's moving forward with her own plans. She's started looking at apartments, talking to lawyers, making arrangements for what she thinks will be an amicable divorce. She even brings Brett to Murphy's Tavern one evening, introducing him around town like he's her new boyfriend instead of her married boss. The whole display is so brazen, so disrespectful, that even the regulars are shocked. She's got some nerve, Tommy Martinez tells me the next day, flaunting that guy around town while she's still married to you. Let her flaunt, I say. Rope's getting longer every day. What do you mean? Just wait and see. The breaking point comes the following weekend, at the annual charity auction for the Ashford Historical Society. It's a big social event, the kind of thing Julia loves because it gives her a chance to network and show off. She arrives with Brett, both of them dressed to the nines, acting like the king and queen of Ashford society. They bid on expensive items, laugh loudly at each other's jokes, and generally make a spectacle of themselves. I arrive alone, wearing my best suit and carrying a folder full of documents. The auction is held at the Ashford Community Center, a restored Victorian building that I helped salvage and renovate 5 years ago. Half the architectural elements in the building came from my warehouse: the carved moldings, the stained glass windows, the marble fireplace surround. It's fitting that Julia's public humiliation should happen in a building I helped create. The auction goes smoothly until they announce the winner of this year's Businesswoman of the Year award. Julia's name is called, and she walks to the podium, glowing with pride and triumph. "Thank you so much," she says into the microphone. "This award means everything to me. It represents years of hard work, dedication, and integrity in the real estate business." Integrity. The word makes my stomach turn. Julia continues her speech, talking about her commitment to excellence, her dedication to her clients, her love for the Ashford community. The audience applauds politely. Then she makes her mistake. I especially want to thank my business partner and dear friend Brett Garris, who's taught me so much about what it means to be a true professional. The applause is more scattered this time. People are starting to notice the way Julia and Brett are looking at each other, the way they're standing just a little too close. I stand up in the back of the room. "I'd like to make a toast," I call out. Julia freezes at the podium. Brett half rises from his seat, looking panicked. "To my wife, Julia," I say, loud enough for everyone to hear. "A woman of remarkable integrity." I pull out my phone and hold it up. On the screen is one of Julia's text messages to Brett, blown up large enough for the people around me to read. "Frank's so pathetic. Still thinks I'm working late." A murmur goes through the crowd. People are craning their necks to see what I'm showing them. 18 years of marriage, I continue, and I'm still learning new things about my wife, like her dedication to customer service. Some clients get very personal attention. Julia's face has gone white. She grabs the microphone. "Frank, please don't do this here." "Why not here? This is where you wanted to celebrate your integrity, isn't it?" I start walking toward the front of the room, still holding up my phone. "Did you know that my wife has been conducting business meetings at the Riverside Inn? Very thorough meetings, very hands-on customer service." The crowd is buzzing now. Brett stands up, his face red with anger and embarrassment. "That's enough," he shouts. "Security." But there is no security at a charity auction in Ashford, just a room full of neighbors and business associates who are getting a front-row seat to the town's biggest scandal in years. I reach the podium and gently take the microphone from Julia's trembling hands. "Ladies and gentlemen, I apologize for interrupting such a lovely evening. But I thought you should know what kind of integrity you're celebrating tonight." I look directly at Brett. "Some of you might know that my wife has been having an affair with her boss. What you might not know is that they've also been stealing clients, manipulating sales records, and defrauding the state real estate commission." The room erupts in shocked whispers. Julia grabs my arm. "Frank, stop, please." But I'm not stopping. I'm just getting started. I have documentation of everything. The affairs, the fraud, the theft. I've shared it all with the appropriate authorities. So when you think about integrity, when you think about what it means to be a pillar of the community, remember this moment. I hand the microphone back to the stunned auction organizer and walk toward the exit. Behind me, I can hear Julia crying, Brett shouting, the crowd buzzing with excitement and shock. As I reach the door, I turn back one more time. "Oh, and Julia? I've changed the locks. Your stuff is on the front porch." Then I walk out into the night, leaving my wife and her lover to face the music alone. The war has begun. The morning after the charity auction, my phone starts ringing at 6 a.m. and doesn't stop. Word of Julia's public humiliation has spread through Ashford like wildfire, and everyone wants to know what happens next. I let most of the calls go to voicemail, but when Bob calls, I pick up. "Jesus, Frank, you really went nuclear last night." "Had to be done. Julia's been calling me all morning, crying, begging me to talk sense into you." "What did you tell her?" "I told her she made her bed, now she can lie in it, preferably not with her boss." Despite everything, I almost smile. Bob's got a way of cutting through the drama. "What's your next move?" he asks. "I'm not sure yet, but I've got more ammunition if I need it." That afternoon, I get a visit from someone unexpected. Maggie Walsh, Julia's best friend since college. Maggie's always been polite to me, but I've never felt like she approved of Julia's choice in husbands. She's got that superior attitude that comes from growing up with money and never having to work for anything. She knocks on my door around 2 o'clock, looking nervous and overdressed for a casual visit. "Frank, we need to talk." "About what?" "About Julia, about what you did last night." I let her in, mostly out of curiosity. Maggie's never paid much attention to me before. Why start now? What you did was cruel, she says, settling into Julia's favorite chair like she owns the place. Humiliating her in front of the entire town. What Julia did was cruel too, humiliating me for 3 years while she screwed around behind my back. That's different. How is it different? Maggie shifts uncomfortably. Julia never meant to hurt you. She was just confused, unhappy. She needed something you couldn't give her. And what was that? Excitement. Adventure. A man who could match her ambition. The words sting because there's truth in them. I'm not ambitious like Julia. I'm not smooth like Brett. I'm just a guy who salvages old things and tries to make them beautiful again. So you think she was justified? I think she handled it poorly, but I understand why she did it. Maggie leans forward, and I catch a whiff of expensive perfume. Frank, Julia's willing to make this right. She'll end things with Brett, go to counseling, whatever it takes. But you have to stop this public vendetta. It's destroying her reputation. Her reputation destroyed itself. She made mistakes, but she's not a bad person. She's my best friend, and I've known her longer than you have. There's something in Maggie's voice, something possessive and protective that goes beyond normal friendship. I file that observation away for later. What exactly are you asking me to do? Drop the complaints with the real estate commission. Stop spreading gossip around town. Give her a chance to rebuild her life. And in return, she'll give you a fair divorce, 50-50 split, shared custody of the boys, no drama. I pretend to consider it. I'll think about it. Maggie smiles, thinking she's won. I knew you were reasonable. Julia's lucky to have had a husband like you. Had. Past tense. As if our marriage is already over and buried. After Maggie leaves, I call the private investigator I hired to look into Brett's finances. His name is Tony Ricci, and he's got the kind of gravelly voice that comes from too many cigarettes and too much coffee. I've got some interesting stuff on your boy Brett, he says. You want the good news or the bad news first? Give me the good news. The good news is he's definitely committing tax fraud, underreporting income, inflating expenses, hiding money in shell companies. The IRS would love to get their hands on this stuff. And the bad news? The bad news is he's not just screwing your wife. He's screwing at least 3 other women, including one who's married to a state senator. I feel a cold satisfaction settling in my chest. Brett's house of cards is bigger than I thought, which means it's going to make a bigger crash when it falls. How do you want to handle this? Tony asks. Send everything to the IRS, and Tony, make sure the state senator gets a copy of those photos. You got it? Anything else? Yeah. I want you to dig into Maggie Walsh. Something about her visit today didn't sit right. What kind of digging? Everything. Finances, relationships, secrets. If she's got skeletons, I want to know where they're buried. That evening, I'm working in my shop when I get an unexpected visitor. Brett Garris pulls up in his scratched Mercedes, gets out, and pounds on my door like he's trying to break it down. I open the door and find him standing there in an expensive suit, his face red with rage and alcohol. You son of a witch, he slurs. You think you can destroy me? I don't think I can destroy you, Brett. I know I can. He pushes past me into the warehouse, looking around at my salvaged treasures like they're junk. This is what you do? Play with old garbage while real men build empires? Real men don't steal other men's wives. Brett laughs, but there's no humor in it. I didn't steal anything. Julia came to me, begged me to save her from her boring little life with her boring little husband. Is that what she told you? That's what she showed me. Every time she came to my bed, every time she told me how much she hated coming home to you. The words are designed to hurt, and they do, but I've moved past hurt into something colder and more dangerous. You know what's funny, Brett? I used to think you were the villain in this story, but you're just another victim. What's that supposed to mean? It means Julia's played you just like she played me. You think you're special? You think you're the only one? Brett's confidence wavers slightly. You're lying. I pull out my phone and show him photos of Julia with the contractor from Hartford, then the client from Springfield, then the married man from her yoga class. She's got a type, I say. Successful men who think they're smarter than everyone else. Men who believe they're irresistible to unhappy wives. Brett stares at the photos, his face going pale. These could be faked. They could be, but they're not. I show him more evidence. Hotel receipts, text messages, credit card statements. A pattern of deception that goes back 3 years and involves at least 6 different men. Congratulations, Brett. You're not Julia's lover. You're just her latest mark. Brett sinks into a chair, the fight going out of him. She told me I was special. She told all of them they were special. That's how the game works. For a moment, I almost feel sorry for him. Almost. What do you want from me? He asks. I want you to stay away from my wife. I want you to transfer her to another office. And I want you to think very carefully about whether you want to keep playing Julia's games. Brett nods slowly. What about the tax stuff? The complaints to the real estate commission? That's between you and the authorities. He stands up, trying to regain some dignity. This isn't over, Frank. Yes, it is. You just don't know it yet. After Brett leaves, I pour myself a drink and sit among my salvaged treasures. Beautiful things that survived demolition, that outlasted the buildings they came from. Sometimes survival isn't about being the strongest or the smartest. Sometimes it's just about being the last one standing. The next morning brings news from Tony Ricci. You're gonna love this, he says. Your friend Maggie Walsh? She's been having an affair with a married man for the past 2 years. Want to guess who? Tell me. State Senator Patrick Riley, the same guy whose wife Brett's been screwing. The pieces start falling into place. Maggie isn't just Julia's friend, she's her partner in crime. They've been covering for each other, providing alibis, sharing strategies for deceiving their husbands and lovers. There's more, Tony continues. Maggie's been embezzling from her husband's construction company. Small amounts, but it adds up. She's got a gambling problem. Runs up huge debts at the casino in Connecticut. How huge? 6 figures. She's been using the embezzled money to pay off loan sharks. Now I understand why Maggie was so eager to broker peace between Julia and me. She's afraid that if Julia goes down, she'll take Maggie with her. Tony, I need you to do one more thing for me. What's that? I need you to find out where Julia's been getting her information about my business, my finances, my plans. Someone's been feeding her inside knowledge. You think you've got a mole? I know I do. I just need to know who it is. The answer comes sooner than I expected. That afternoon, I'm at the bank when I overhear a conversation between 2 tellers. Did you hear about Julia Mallory? One of them says. Apparently her husband's been hiding money, planning to leave her with nothing. How do you know that? My cousin works at First National. She says Frank Mallory's been moving money around, setting up secret accounts. I know both of these women. I also know that my accounts are at First National, and that only one person there has access to my financial information. The branch manager, Carol Henderson. Carol Henderson, Mrs. Henderson's daughter. The same Mrs. Henderson who took photos of me vandalizing Brett's car. The same family that's been feeding information to Julia for months. I walk over to the tellers and clear my throat. They both look up, startled and embarrassed. Ladies, I say politely, you might want to be more careful about spreading gossip, especially when it's based on illegally obtained financial information. They both turn red and mumble apologies, but the damage is done. Now I know how Julia's been staying one step ahead of me. That evening, I call Mike Kowalski, my lawyer. Mike, I need to file a complaint against Carol Henderson at First National, violation of banking privacy laws, sharing confidential customer information. You got proof? I'm working on it. But Mike, I also need you to do something else. I want to file for divorce, full custody of the boys, division of assets, the works. You sure about this, Frank? Once we file, there's no going back. I'm sure. Julia wants a war? She's got one. The next day, I put the final phase of my plan into action. I call a meeting with Julia, Brett, and Maggie at the Riverside Inn, the same motel where Julia and Brett have been conducting their affair. They all show up, probably thinking I'm ready to surrender. Julia looks tired and defeated. Brett looks paranoid and jumpy. Maggie looks calculating, like she's already planning her next move. Thank you all for coming, I say, setting up a small video camera on the table. I thought it was time we had an honest conversation. What's the camera for? Maggie asks. Insurance. I want to make sure we're all clear about what's been said here. I pull out 3 folders and slide them across the table. Julia, your folder contains evidence of your affairs with 6 different men over the past 3 years, plus documentation of your scheme to defraud the real estate commission. Julia opens the folder and gasps. Where did you get these? Brett, your folder contains evidence of tax fraud, illegal business practices, and affairs with multiple married women, including the wife of State Senator Patrick Riley. Brett's hands shake as he flips through the documents. You can't prove any of this. And Maggie, I say, sliding the 3rd folder across the table, your folder contains evidence of your affair with Senator Riley, your embezzlement from your husband's company, and your gambling debts to some very unpleasant people. Maggie goes completely white. How did I find out? The same way you found out about my business. I hired professionals. I lean back in my chair, enjoying the shocked silence. Now, here's what's going to happen. Julia, you're going to resign from Pinnacle Real Estate and find a new job in another town. Brett, you're going to transfer Julia's clients to other agents and never contact her again. And Maggie, you're going to stay out of my business permanently. And if we don't? Brett asks. If you don't, I release everything. The IRS gets Brett's tax records. Senator Riley gets photos of his wife with Brett and his girlfriend with Maggie. The State Real Estate Commission gets Julia's fraud documentation. And Maggie's husband gets a full accounting of her embezzlement and gambling debts. You're bluffing, Maggie says, but her voice is shaky. Am I? Maggie, how much do you owe to Tony Marconi at the Mohegan Sun? Last I heard, it was around $200,000. How do you think Tony's going to react when he finds out you've been stealing from your husband to pay other debts? Maggie starts crying. Julia looks like she's going to be sick. Brett just stares at the table, defeated. I'll give you 24 hours to decide, I say, packing up my camera. After that, everything goes public. I stand up and walk toward the door, then pause. Oh, and Julia? The divorce papers will be served tomorrow morning. I'm asking for full custody of the boys, based on your pattern of deception and financial fraud. I think I've got a pretty good case. I leave them sitting in that sleazy motel room, surrounded by the wreckage of their schemes and lies. It's fitting, really. They built their relationships on deception and betrayal. Now they can figure out how to survive in the ruins. As I drive home, I feel something I haven't felt in months. Peace. Not happiness, not satisfaction, but peace. The war is almost over, and I'm still standing. Sometimes that's enough. The Founders Festival arrives 2 weeks later, and Ashford is buzzing with more excitement than usual. Word of the motel confrontation has spread through town like wildfire, and everyone knows that Frank Mallory has been playing chess while his opponents were playing checkers. Julia agreed to all my demands. She resigned from Pinnacle Real Estate and took a job with a small firm in Hartford, 40 miles away. Brett transferred her clients to other agents and is keeping a very low profile while the IRS investigates his tax returns. Maggie paid off her gambling debts by confessing to her husband and agreeing to enter treatment. But I'm not done yet. The Founders Festival is Ashford's biggest social event, held every year in Memorial Park. There are food vendors, craft booths, live music, and speeches by local dignitaries, It's also where they announce the winners of various community awards, including Business Person of the Year. I've been nominated for that award, based on my work restoring the community center and my contributions to historic preservation. It's ironic, really. I spent 18 years feeling like a second-class citizen in my own town, and now they want to give me a trophy. The ceremony is held on the main stage at 7 o'clock, just as the sun is setting behind the old mill buildings. The whole town is there, families with children, elderly couples, teenagers trying to look bored. Even some people from neighboring towns have come to see what all the fuss is about. I'm sitting in the front row with Sid and Jimmy, who drove down from college for the event. They've been staying with me since the divorce papers were filed, and I can see them processing everything that's happened. They're angry at their mother, but they're also trying to understand how their family fell apart so completely. "Dad," Sid whispers, "you don't have to do this. Everyone already knows what happened." "That's exactly why I have to do it," I whisper back. "Sometimes the truth needs to be said out loud, in front of everyone." The mayor, a pleasant woman named Patricia Donnelly, takes the stage and begins the awards ceremony. She presents plaques for volunteer service, community involvement, and business achievement. The crowd applauds politely for each winner. Finally, she gets to the main event. This year's Business Person of the Year award goes to someone who has quietly contributed to our community for nearly 2 decades. Frank Mallory's architectural salvage business has helped preserve the historic character of our town, and his personal integrity has been an example to us all. The crowd erupts in applause, louder and more enthusiastic than for any previous award. I stand up and walk to the stage, accepting the plaque from Mayor Donnelly. "Thank you," I say into the microphone. "This is truly an honor." I look out at the crowd, seeing faces I've known for years. Neighbors, customers, friends, enemies, people who've watched my marriage fall apart and my reputation rise from the ashes. You know, when I started my business, I thought I was just buying and selling old building materials. But over the years, I've learned that salvage is really about seeing value in things that other people want to throw away. The crowd murmurs appreciatively. They think I'm talking about antique mantles and stained glass windows. I'm not. Sometimes the most beautiful things are the ones that have been damaged, broken, cast aside. But if you look carefully, if you're patient, you can find the worth in almost anything. I pause, letting the words sink in. I've also learned that not everything is worth salvaging. Sometimes things are so damaged, so corrupted, that the kindest thing you can do is let them go. Now the crowd is paying closer attention. They sense that this isn't just a generic acceptance speech. 3 months ago, I discovered that my wife of 18 years was having an affair with her boss. Not just one affair, but multiple affairs, spanning 3 years. A gasp goes through the crowd. Even though everyone knows the story, hearing it stated so bluntly is still shocking. I could have handled it quietly, privately, the way these things are usually handled in small towns. But I also discovered that she and her lover were committing fraud, stealing from clients, manipulating business records. Mayor Donnelly looks uncomfortable, but she doesn't interrupt. This is my moment, and everyone knows it. So I had a choice. I could salvage my marriage, try to repair something that was fundamentally broken, or I could let it go and salvage something more important, my self-respect. I hold up the plaque, its brass surface gleaming in the stage lights. This award is for integrity, for being an example to the community. But the truth is, I spent 18 years being the wrong kind of example. I was the husband who didn't pay attention, who didn't ask questions, who let himself be taken advantage of. The crowd is completely silent now. Even the children have stopped fidgeting. Julia Mallory, if you're listening to this, and I know you are, because bad news travels fast in a small town, I want you to know that I forgive you. I can see people in the crowd looking around, wondering if Julia is actually there. She's not. She's probably at home in Hartford, watching a live stream of the festival on the town's website. I forgive you for the affairs, for the lies, for the cruelty. I forgive you for trying to turn our sons against me, for stealing money from our accounts, for attempting to destroy my reputation. My voice gets stronger, more confident. But forgiveness doesn't mean I'm going to let you get away with it. Forgiveness means I'm not going to let your actions define who I am anymore. I look directly into the camera that's recording the ceremony for the town website. You wanted excitement, Julia? You wanted adventure? You wanted a man who could match your ambition? Well, congratulations, you got one. Just not the way you expected. The crowd starts to applaud, slowly at first, then building to a roar. I raise my hand for silence. To everyone else here tonight, I want you to remember something. When someone shows you who they really are, believe them. When someone treats you like you don't matter, like you're disposable, like you're just an obstacle to their happiness, believe them. I hold up the plaque again. But also remember that you get to choose who you become in response. You can be a victim, or you can be a survivor. You can let them break you, or you can salvage the best parts of yourself and build something new. The applause is thunderous now. People are standing, cheering, whistling. I can see Sid and Jimmy in the front row, both of them crying and smiling at the same time. Thank you for this award. Thank you for your support, and thank you for reminding me that sometimes the most valuable thing you can salvage is your own dignity. I walk off the stage to a standing ovation that lasts 5 minutes. People crowd around me, shaking my hand, patting my back, telling me how proud they are. It's overwhelming and humbling and exactly what I needed. Later that evening, after the festival winds down and the crowds disperse, I'm sitting on my front porch with Sid and Jimmy. We're drinking beer and watching the stars come out over Ashford. "Dad," Jimmy says, "that was incredible. I've never been more proud to be your son." "Your mother's going to hate it," Sid adds. "The whole speech will be on YouTube by tomorrow morning." "Let her hate it," I say. "I'm done caring what your mother thinks about me." "What happens now?" Jimmy asks. "Now we rebuild. The three of us together. Your mother made her choices and she'll have to live with the consequences, but we get to choose what comes next." I take a long drink of beer and look out at the town I've called home for 20 years. Ashford isn't much to look at, a faded mill town with more history than future, more problems than solutions. But it's my town now. In a way, it never was when I was married to Julia. "You know what the funny thing is?" I say. "I spent all these years feeling like I wasn't good enough for your mother, like I was holding her back from something better. But the truth is, she wasn't good enough for me." "Took you long enough to figure that out," Sid says, grinning. Better late than never. My phone buzzes with a text message. For a moment, I think it might be Julia, but it's from Sarah Mitchell, a woman I knew in high school who moved back to Ashford last year after her own divorce. "Watched your speech online? Coffee tomorrow?" I show the message to my sons. They both smile. "Dad," Jimmy says, "I think your salvage operation is just getting started." He's right. I've spent months tearing down the wreckage of my old life, exposing the rot, clearing away the debris. Now it's time to build something new. I text Sarah back. "Coffee sounds perfect." Then I lean back in my chair and watch the stars wheel overhead. Tomorrow will bring new challenges, new opportunities, new possibilities. But tonight, I'm exactly where I need to be. Home, with my sons, in a town that finally sees me for who I really am. Frank Mallory, the last good man in Ashford. And you know what? That's enough. The story ends here, on my front porch, with the taste of victory in my mouth and the promise of tomorrow stretching out before me like an open road. I don't need an epilogue or a neat wrap-up. I don't need to know what happens next with Julia or Brett or Maggie. All I need to know is that I'm still standing, still salvaging, still finding value in things that other people want to throw away. Starting with myself.